welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you're new. Hi, my name is Richie and I'm so excited that you're here. I am doing a fun little recommendations video. Basically in this video we're going to be going over some holiday slash summer book recommendations. If you're on this side of the hemisphere, you know that we're going into summer, and because of that I thought I would just go through some of my favorite summer books that I've read recently or this year so far, and things that I think I would recommend to people to read during this time. I also have some books that are maybe not really set in summertime, but they kind of just make me think of summertime, and also books that aren't set in summer but they give like the holiday vibes, because you know we're going into the holiday season of like Christmas and everything. Yeah, I thought it would be a fun little video. I have read quite a few books this year since I got back into reading, so I think it's fun to just share my recommendations. I've basically got a lot of romance, I'm not gonna lie with you, but I do have a few books with fantasy and a few books in a thriller sort of category, so yeah, I'm very excited. Hope you guys enjoy this one. I think I'm gonna start off with the thriller mystery ones because I only have 2 books in this category, and I think it just like makes sense if you've read them or you know about them, that they kind of fit into sort of like the Christmassy snowy type of thing. If you're in that mood to read something that's a bit like thrilling and kind of like, they kind of give that vibe of like reading a mystery by the fireplace in a cabin on a like Christmas break. Like, do you know what I mean? There's a very specific vibe, and I feel like these 2 give off that. The first one I have is His and Hers by Alice Feeney. This was like the first proper thriller that I've read, and I really enjoyed this one. I thought this one was so crazy, especially like the ending and how everything came together, and it was told in like 2 point of views and also a 3rd point of view of the killer. Basically this follows Anna and Jack. They're divorced and a murder happens in their small town, and so she goes back to the small town to investigate because she is like a TV reporter journalist, and he is a DCI, and he is a detective on the case. So they're both sort of like trying to figure out what's happening, and it kind of goes back in time when they were married, and like sort of also like even before that when they were just in school, because there's just some things that tie in together in that way. And it was sort of set in like the winter time, I think. I'm not too sure, but when I read this it just reminded me of a small town in like UK in like the winter times when it's like snowing and it's cold and everyone's wearing like huge puffer jackets. Like it was just giving me that vibe, so I really enjoyed this one. Like if you're looking for a good thriller, I think Alice Feeney has a lot, but yeah, this one definitely caught my eye. And both POVs, they would sort of blame each other, but there was a 3rd POV of the killer and you had no idea who it was until the very end. So definitely recommend if you're looking to sort of get into thrillers. I think this is a great start because it's super easy to get into. Yeah, this was the first recommendation I have. And then the second book that I had in the same thriller mystery genre is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, which I know a lot of people have already read and probably already know about. There is 2 other books in the series, but I haven't got into them yet. I don't know when I will, but I really love the first one. This was like my first ever mystery at all, and because it was YA, it was so easy to get into. And I think I was going through my books and seeing like what books I've read, and I realized this is such a gem that I completely forgot about because I read it. It was like one of the first books I read. Basically this follows Pippa, who was investigating a murder of someone from her school, and she just doesn't believe the person who did it actually did it. So she tries to investigate and enlist the help of the guy who did it's brother. So they kind of like work together because he obviously wants to clear his brother's name and she doesn't think he did it anyway. So they kind of work together, and it is such a fun way to read. Like this book is so good because not only is this like a normal novel, it also includes like little clippings from her reports and her findings, and just like so many random things like that. It's just really fun because it's like reading someone's actual report, not just like reading a story, if that makes sense. Yeah, I really enjoyed this one, and I feel like if you are into a YA mystery or you're looking for one, this is definitely one to pick up. I definitely recommend both of these as like a little intro into thriller mystery because they both are just super easy to get into and have a pretty interesting but straightforward storyline that you can like kind of keep across. And I think especially with this one, there was so many people that I thought were like the killer or like they were the bad guys, but she just kept going and unraveling more and more. So yeah, it was definitely a good read, so definitely recommend these 2 if you are looking for a thriller mystery. Okay, I'm gonna do fantasy next, which isn't really fantasy. I only have like one proper fantasy that I kind of think ties in with the summer aspect but also like gives off Christmassy vibes. But the first one I have is Once Upon a Broken Heart, and mainly because this kind of like talks about like fairy tales, and for some reason in my head I've always imagined fairy tales to be in like like summertime, so maybe that's just a me thing. A lot of fairy tales I just associate during the summertime, and I feel like it kind of makes sense, but a lot of this world building is more fairy tale-esque than other. I feel like other fantasies can be very like high stakes and it's pretty full on, whereas this one is just more like, it's just so fairy tale. I don't know what another word for fairy tale is. It's just very magical and beautiful. I think a lot of stuff that happens in here is sort of set in the summertime. It kind of like goes between seasons, I feel like, because some areas are colder than the others in this world. So I don't know, it's a bit interesting. If you're looking for a fun little fantasy, this is definitely one to read. I've recommended this so many times. This one basically follows Evangeline and Jax. He is the Prince of Hearts. Evangeline basically goes to him to get some help because the guy that she loves is marrying her stepsister, and she just wants to stop the wedding at all costs, and yeah, starts her deal with Jax, and that's how this whole saga happens. And there's just a lot of back and forth between them, but honestly it's just so like addicting. When I read this book I was like obsessed with like the world, and I just read the second book recently, so yeah, very happy with this one. The next two books are some of my favorite books ever, and I don't think they're like really considered fantasy. They're more so considered like magical realism and have magical supernatural elements in them, but the story is still set in like normal world, normal time, if that makes sense. And they're both by Ashley Poston, so I'll quickly go through them. This is the first book I read by Ashley Poston, and it is The Dead Romantics, and I was very pleasantly surprised by this one. I just enjoyed it so much. The writing was beautiful. It was reminding me of Emily Henry, and I love the way Emily Henry writes. There's like something so beautiful and poetic about some of the things that she says and she writes. It's just so beautiful, and it really reminded me of that. This one basically follows Florence, who is a ghostwriter, and she doesn't believe in love right now, and it's becoming a bit of a problem because she has a huge writer's block. She has a book due and she has no idea what to write, and then she has to go home, and when she gets home starts seeing her editor as a ghost, and she's freaked out. And then it's sort of like this journey that they go on together where she's dealing with some grief, some things that have happened at home, and dealing with like being back in her hometown and being there, and also this ability that she has to see ghosts, and you know, dealing with the dead editor. It's a very sweet little book, and I just like loved every single part of it. And there's definitely a movie based on this. I can't remember what it's called, but it has like Reese Witherspoon in it, and yeah, this book really reminds me of that, and I think it's probably been inspired from that. I don't know, I feel like it ties in with a little bit of the summery aspect, but also just like the coziness of Christmas, and like, I don't know, I just really love this book. So I feel like it's like a perfect recommendation for this time of the year as well, if you're looking for something a little bit lighthearted but also has some depth to it and talks about some other topics as well. And then the second book I actually posted that I read is The 7-Year Slip, which I absolutely adored as well. Iwan, the guy character in this, is one of the best male characters written. Like, he was just so sweet and so kind, and it wasn't even in a full-on way. Like, he just let the main girl character just be who she was. So this one follows Clementine and Iwan, but it's mainly about Clementine. She's kind of in her 30s and she's trying to figure out who she is and what she wants to do. She's dealing with some grief as well because her aunt passes away, and her aunt has this beautiful magical apartment that somehow goes back in time when you randomly go through the door. So she kind of experiences that herself, and she is just thrust into this world, and that's where she meets Iwan, and they have this like very beautiful connection. They somehow live in different timelines, so she's obviously like, it's not gonna work, but it's just a very sweet book. Like, I feel like Ashley Poston books, like, I just think they're very sweet, and this one just makes me feel so cozy, and everything was just like perfect when I read this. Like, I really enjoyed this one. Definitely recommend this. It definitely gives off like the cozy vibes of Christmas, but also it's just a fun little quick read that, you know, if you wanted to read, you will definitely enjoy. Now we're gonna go into the summer book recommendations. So these are all the recommendations that I think would be perfect for this time of the year if you live where I live, but even if you don't, you might enjoy these and you might find them cozy little reads in your winter time. The first one I have is A Summer of Broken Rules, and this one is a YA book, and I am recommending this. I didn't love it so much when I read it because I read it on vacation as well, but I really loved the concept of this one. Basically, this follows Meredith, who is going on this big family vacation where all of her extended family is there, and she had actually lost her sister, and so everyone is kind of like grappling with this grief that they have of losing a family member, a beloved family member, and also, you know, how you process grief and also how you maintain relationships while going through grief as well. And it really touches on that, which I really liked. But I think my favorite part of this was that not only was it set in like Martha's Vineyard on a summer, and it's like a summer vacation, there's a sweet little romance, but also they play a game of assassin and the whole family is involved. Like, they take it incredibly seriously, and I think that is just a fun way of like incorporating all the family members and showing how they all got along and all their personalities. I don't know, I really enjoyed that aspect of it. I think like as a story, like it was okay for me, but just having like that game aspect, I felt like added so much depth to the characters because you got to know this competitive side of them. I just really enjoyed it, and I think it was a fun little book. So if you're looking for something fun and easy to read, although it does talk about grief, it does it in such a light-hearted way that are there with the characters having fun on this like beautiful summer vacation that they're on. It's definitely easy to get into because it's a YA book as well, but yeah, this is a Summer of Broken Rules. The next book I'm going to recommend is also a YA book, and it is The Summer I Turned Pretty, and this is obviously a very popular show. Everyone has seen it. I think most people have seen it. If not, you probably would have heard about it, and I thought I would read the first book in the series because it was, you know, it's a show that I've been watching for a while, and I enjoyed this one because of all the summer vibes. You know, she's at a beach house, and it's a beautiful beach house, coastal grandma vibes all the way through. It's just about her enjoying her summer as like a 15-16-year-old girl, and I really enjoy this in that aspect, and it's quite a short book. So if you're looking for a fun little summery read, I definitely recommend. All the books in the series are pretty short and sweet, so definitely recommend. Just like a fun little easy palette cleanser if you need a little summer read. It just shows like her like meeting people and getting confident. The next book that I have is, which is also kind of like a palette cleanser I would say, is The Love Wager by Lynn Painter, and I love this book. It was such a cute little rom-com. It's pretty short as well, so it's a very quick easy read, and basically this one follows Hallie and Jack, and they basically meet on a dating app, and they kind of have a bit of history, but they meet on a dating app and they decide to become each other's wingmans and help each other like find the love of their life. And throughout this process they become best friends and they hang out all the time, and slowly they start developing feelings for each other, and it's just really fun. I think it's kind of set in the summertime, I'm not too sure, but it does give like the summer vibes, and it's like a fun little rom-com that you watch in the summer. So yeah, definitely recommend if you're looking for a fun little palette cleanser. Next book I'm going to show you guys is You Deserve Each Other by Sarah Hogle. I really enjoyed this one. It's a fun read about a couple who kind of have grown apart and they just don't like each other anymore, but the guy is doing anything he can to like bring the spark back, show her that he really loves her and he wants this to work. So they kind of come back together, and it's just really fun. They like play pranks on each other, and it's kind of sweet. It definitely gives more like the cozy Christmas vibes, but I really enjoyed it, and it kind of gives like a Christmas movie where people are like pranking each other. I don't know, it was a sweet little read, so definitely recommend. The next two I have for you guys are one of my favorite series ever, and this is from the Chestnut Spring series. I thought I would show you the first and second book. The second book is like my favorite because I love the couple in this one, which is Cade and Willa, but the first one is obviously what started the whole series, so I really appreciate this one too. This one is between Rhett and Summer, and basically Rhett is a professional bull rider and he gets himself some trouble with the media because he says something he shouldn't have said, and so Summer gets sent to look after him, make sure he doesn't get in any more trouble in, you know, talking to the media and stuff. And during this process where she's kind of babysitting him, kind of, you know, proving that she can do this job of like looking after, I guess, people in the media, I don't know how to explain him, like sports people, they like start having like a relationship, start forming a connection. I'm pretty sure it's based over the summer, but either way it's giving summer vibes. It's like at a ranch, it's like giving cowboy. So yeah, definitely a fun little read in the summertime if you're looking for one. It's very sweet, spicy, cute. That is Flawless, and then Heartless is my favorite one because this is about Cade and Willa. So Cade is Rhett's brother from the first one, and Willa is Summer's best friend from the first one, and she basically ends up being his son's nanny and like looks after him for the summertime, and it's supposed to be like a short stint just for the summer, but obviously feelings get in the way, and so they sort of try to navigate that. And he's a bit of like a grump because, you know, he's been wronged in the past. He doesn't really want to do anything, he just wants to make sure his kid is happy and safe. But yeah, I really love the dynamic in this, and it was just very fun. It's definitely set over the summer, so it's very summery and fun, also sweet, spicy, cute. So definitely recommend this series if you haven't already read it. The next book I have is The True Love Experiment by Christina Lauren. This is the only book I've ever read by Christina Lauren, I'm pretty sure, and this one follows Felicity and Connor. Basically Felicity is a romance novelist or romance author, and she has never really been in a relationship, and she kind of starts having imposter syndrome because she's like, I've never actually experienced what I've been writing about. And Connor is like a documentary guy, or he is a documentary filmmaker. Then his like work basically forces him to create a reality TV show and to direct a reality TV show. So he ends up casting Felicity as the main leading person in his reality TV show. It's kind of like The Bachelorette, and honestly the reality TV aspect is really fun, and I don't know why, but reality TV always just reminds me of the summertime because I feel like most of them are filmed like over the summer or something, and it just gives that vibe. And yeah, between Connor and Felicity, they kind of like form something. It's like, you know, they should not be doing anything contractually, but yeah, it's a fun little read, definitely. The next one I have is Red, White and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. I actually loved this book when I read it. It was such a good book. It's a little bit long, I would say, but I really enjoyed it, and the movie of this is really good too. A lot of it is cut out, I think, but I think the movie just summarized everything pretty well in my opinion. One follows Alex and Henry, and basically one of them is the president of this US's son, and then the other is, you know, UK royalty, and they somehow have like a weird rivalry. Not really rivalry, they just like don't like each other, but then they start hanging out because of a PR disaster, if you will, and so they become friends and something more perhaps. But I think it's just like a fun little read. Although it's quite long, it's definitely a fun little read, and it reminds me of summertime. The next recommendation I have is Love Redesigned by Lauren Asher. This is a recent read for me. It is also a new release. I think it just came out like a month or so ago, but this one was a fun little billionaire romance. If you're into billionaire romances, trust me, you will enjoy this. I think the main character in this, Julian, he is such a sweet guy. Like, he bought her a house just so she can be happy for like 5 seconds. So yeah, if that doesn't make you smile, I don't know what will. If that doesn't make you happy, I don't know what will in this economic climate. But anyway, so this follows Julian and Dahlia. They're sort of childhood friends, rivals. Their mums are like best friends, so they've grown up together, and during that course they've kind of just been rivals, kind of have a history. And it's flash forward to the future, and he is a billionaire in the construction business, she is an interior designer. He kind of goes through something traumatic, comes home, and they spend a lot of time together, and he literally does everything he can to make her happy, and it's just so sweet. She's kind of going through some different mental health issues, and so he's just there to like support her in the best way that he could. Fun romance, it's a fun read, so definitely recommend for the summertime. And last but not least, I couldn't not use this one as one of my main recommendations for the summertime. If you haven't already read it, I don't know what you're doing, please buy this right now and read it. And it is none other than Happy Place by Emily Henry. I haven't looked at this book in so long. This was the first book I ever read. This is the book that got me back into reading, and I'm so glad that I did, because obviously I've read so many since then. I'm pretty sure it's like literally placed over the summertime, and it's so fun. The found family is fantastic. Even with like time jumps, I personally don't always love time jumps in books, but this one was so good because you got to really see how Harriet and Wynn's relationship grew from when they first met to like right before they broke up, and all the things that they went through, and I just like loved it so much. There is a bit of miscommunication in this, so if you're not a big fan of it, I understand, but I actually feel like it really added to the plot so much, and I really enjoyed it. And I personally sometimes do think miscommunication is really stupid, especially in very stupid scenarios, but in this case I felt like I could see why they behaved the way they did, and I feel like in a realistic way people would behave the way that they did in terms of the miscommunication. But basically, like I said, this was Harriet and Wynn. They basically broke up, but their friend group actually goes on a holiday every year, and for the sake of the friend group and for the sake of this holiday, they just pretend to be together to make it easier on everyone, and they plan on telling everyone that they broke up right before they leave to not make it super awkward and uncomfortable. And throughout that process they get closer together, and it's just like very sweet, and I love it. It's such a wholesome, fun book, and I love Emily Henry so much. So this is honestly one of my favorite books by her. I think it's one of my favorite books of the year, so definitely recommend if you haven't already. It's a perfect summer read, and yeah, it gets you in the feels, but also it's just very sweet and heartwarming, so definitely recommend. Anyway, there you guys go. That was all my little holiday Christmas recommendations. I really hope you guys took at least one book from this video that you might want to read as well. I enjoyed every one of these books, and I hope you guys will too. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I love you guys so much, and I'll catch you in my next video. But yeah, anyway, bye. Love you.